Oh gosh, my computer, the fan is blowing like crazy. And I'm hoping it's okay. And I'm hoping you can't hear it. Hello, my friends. Thank you for coming and watching this video today. I hope it is educational. As you can see from the title, we're going to be talking about face products besides foundation, and I'm not going to talk about concealer today either. Maybe I'll have a totally different video for concealer, maybe not. We'll see. So, I'm going to be talking about primarily setting powder, bronzer slash contour, is what people call it, but that's, and blush and highlighter. And I'm primarily going to be talking about powders. I don't do a lot of cream or liquid of any of those things because they are harder to deal with, and I'm just not about that. And typically, I don't know, I feel like powder looks better anyway. So let's go ahead and get started. So, we're going to start with powder, just setting powder. Sorry, I shouldn't say that when I'm going to be talking about powder the entire video. I should specify. We're going to be talking about setting powder today for this first one. And if you've watched my, Get Ready With Me, my basic makeup daily whatever, then you've seen all of these products already. But I'm just going to remind you guys, if you haven't, of what I currently use when it comes to these products. So first, for my setting powder, I used the Pressed Sephora Beauty Amplifier Setting Translucent Powder. So this powder is fantastic. I really like it. Just a nice white translucent powder. Obviously it doesn't look like anything because it's translucent. This is really good. I love a pressed powder because I cannot stand doing baking. Like, I've tried baking and using loose powders before. Hate it. It's messy and it doesn't look different and it doesn't help me personally. I know some people think, not just think, it does actually look better for some people. For me, either I'm doing it wrong or I just don't care enough, but pressed powder is the way to go for me. There are plenty of good pressed powders like that, but for most people, I would definitely say a translucent powder is best. And of course, we all have different skin tones, so somebody with a darker skin tone might not look good with a normal pressed translucent powder that's just kind of whitish like that. It might actually look whiter if you have darker skin. But lots of brands make translucent powder that are actually in slightly darker color tones. So they're not colored, they're not going to show up on your skin as anything differently. But if you have darker skin, you can look out for those, and that will obviously be helpful. I feel like translucent powders are best typically because you never know if you're going to want that extra bit of coverage or not. And if you don't have a translucent powder, you don't have a choice. So I totally get people that have their full coverage foundation and then they do a colored powder on top of that just as extra coverage. I understand that, but sometimes you don't want that extra coverage, and sometimes it just looks like too much. It looks too cakey, and translucent powders are so thin that they really don't. So that's a nice thing. I really don't have anything else to say about just plain powder because it's not that complicated. You take a big brush, you dip it in there, stir it up, and you wipe it all over your face. Some people like to just powder their T-zone and under their eyes. Totally a valid thing. Personally, I powder everywhere just because it helps it stay a lot longer than it would otherwise. So it's up to you. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about bronzer. I'm going to do this in the order that I do my makeup personally. Obviously, everybody does setting powder first, but then I go contour, blush, highlighter. And I know some people will do blush, contour, highlighter, or they'll do contour, highlighter, blush, or whatever. But the way I do it is contour, blush, highlighter, so that's just how I'm going to do it today. So I currently use the Too Faced Milk Chocolate Bronzer. They have their classic Chocolate Soleil bronzer, and you can see I've used a good bit of it. But they have their classic chocolate Soleil bronzer, and then this is the milk chocolate, which is just a lighter version of that since I am pretty pale. I'm definitely not crazy pale, but I also don't like a super dark contour. Some people do. I'm not a fan of it. And then they also have a dark chocolate, which is a step darker for darker skin tones. So this one is great. Personally, I feel like this is the smoothest, one of the smoothest bronzers, contour powders that I've ever had. I've tried a lot because I have, I don't have cheekbones. No, but not really. I love this one because it's nice, it's subtle, it goes on really smooth, and I love contouring because I do have, you can see a little dip here. That's just because I have teeth like normal people, and when I open up, you can poke in there. But I like a good, smooth, natural looking contour because I do want it to look natural. I feel like most of us do. Some people don't. Some people want it to be like, bang, here I am. It's kind of a very like 80s like look. People, you know, in the 80s, they take their blush and they go, man, cut it out. And that's fine. If you like that, you do you. I'm not going to judge you. But I like a little bit more of a natural look. And so I've looked everywhere, far and wide, tried a ton of brands. The first contour palette I ever used was Kat Von D, and if you watched my couple videos ago, you know that I do not purchase Kat Von D products anymore because she's not crazy, but I definitely have some contrasting beliefs, and I don't feel like supporting her, and yeah. So that was the first one I used. It was totally fine. Not a bad palette at all, but they aren't the best blending unless you're using other Kat Von D products, weirdly enough, which makes sense. People make their products to mix well with their own products. But, like, in all reality, we don't all just wear a face full of Too Faced or a face full of Urban Decay or whatever. We wear lots of different kinds of products. So it has to be versatile. So I tried that one. I've also tried the NARS. Not a fan. The Laguna bronzer, it's fine. Too expensive, but it's fine. I've also tried, Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. Butter Bronzer is actually fantastic. I love that bronzer. I have it in my bathroom. Didn't bring it in here. Should have, but it's fine. It's whatever. It is a great bronzer at a drugstore price. Fantastic. The one thing that lots of people love about it that I actually don't love about it is the scent. Not that it's a bad scent, it's just a little overwhelming for me, and I know you're looking at me like you're using the Too Faced chocolate bronzer, but that chocolate smell is like barely there, and the butter bronzer like sunscreen smell or whatever you want to call it is like in your face. So kind of on that one. It's whatever, it's fine, but lots of people love that one. It does blend really well, it looks really natural and beautiful, and people obsess over that one, which for good reason they do. So when it comes to contouring or bronzing and contouring are two different things. So let's talk about that real quick. So bronzing is putting a bronzer anywhere where the sun would naturally hit you. So anywhere on the tops where the sun would naturally hit you. And there's an old technique that lots of people use calling a 3 and an E. And so you take a brush and you go, I don't know which one this is. Is it 3 or E? That's an E, right? Anyway, whichever side, and you go whoop, whoop, and then you go whoop, whoop, and that's how you should bronze, theoretically, which is totally fine. I do that. That's personally what I do for my contour, because I contour my forehead. Some people don't, but I contour my forehead because I have a very, very round / oval face, and I like contouring my forehead because it kind of brings it down a little bit, and that helps creating more of a as opposed to a. I know none of this makes sense, and I know that I'm just saying gibberish right now, but stay with me. So then contouring, on the other hand, is of course contouring is supposed to be where the shadow hits if you have more defined features of your choosing, if that makes sense. So a lot of people want more prominent cheekbones. So that's why they do it right below where their cheekbone is, because it makes it seem like you have a more prominent cheekbone and it slims out your face a little bit. Or they do it around their nose to make it seem like the nose is thinner, right? And then I do it on my forehead to make it seem like my forehead is smaller. And so I do a bit of both. So what I'll take is I'll take a giant brush and I'll take the same matte bronzer. Some people like using a little bit of a shimmery bronzer when it comes to like actual bronzing. I'll still just take the same bronzer, big brush, go do my E and my 3, right? And then I go along the jawline. And then I'll take a more defined brush, and that's where I'll get into the chiseling, as it were. Now, when it comes to contouring, obviously the word contour doesn't just refer to your bronzer, it refers to the highlight as well. I don't typically use a lighter colored powder to highlight. I just take my concealer out a little bit further in those areas. I do concealer in a lot of places where people would normally do highlighter just because I need it in those places, or I want it in those places because I get redder or whatever. Like you can see I'm getting red right here. That just happens to me randomly and naturally. And so I will do concealer along here because I don't want it to be red right there. But that's just a natural place that people would put it for their contouring process. So the other side of contouring is the light. So you want to do it wherever the light would hit in your best theoretical features. So a lot of people will do it like right here. They'll do the tips and around. They'll do the tip of their chin, and then you do it below the contour on your cheekbones as well, because that'll make it like hoo hoo hoo. This whole video is just gonna be me making weird sounds. Sorry. So that's the basics of contouring. If it made any sense to you, I can go more in depth on contouring and do actual like examples on myself in the future. If anybody wants to see that, comment below or let me know and I will do so. So now let's move on to blush. So blush, I talked about I use any NARS blush. I have multiple NARS blushes. I really like these. I hate the packaging. You can see like it gets so dirty so quick because it's like matte packaging. Hate it. But love NARS blushes. I basically can't or won't. I could, but I'm not going to say any of the names out loud because I don't want to do that on the internet. But these are just, they're just so beautiful. All the blushes I have from NARS are like shimmery. I like shimmery blush. I don't really like matte blush, just because I feel like it kind of makes my face look like bleh. And I like to have a little bit of shimmer to it because then I'm gonna do highlighter anyway. So, but totally reasonable to not have shimmer at all in any of your products and not do a shimmery highlight. Really reasonable. But NARS blushes are personally my favorite. I also really like Revlon blushes, honestly. Revlon blushes are really, really pretty, and they have pretty good like staying power. They stay on your face pretty well all day. That's one thing about a lot of drugstore powders, is a lot of drugstore powders will kind of wear off really, really quickly, but Revlon's pretty good about that. I've never tried any of the Physicians Formula blushes, but I've heard that those are good, just like the butter bronzer. They have like butter blushes and butter highlighter, so I've heard that those are pretty good too. Never tried them personally. Other blushes that I've used. Benefit blushes are actually pretty good. I don't love a ton of Benefit products. I like some of them, and some of them are totally perfectly fine, but their blushes are really good. Their Dandelion blush is a really pretty light natural blush color. Love that one. Hoola Bronzer actually is pretty good too, so that's kind of one of the places where Benefit actually shines really, really well, so that's a good one. Personally, when it comes to blush for me, a lot of people will tend to either keep it on the apples of their cheeks or they'll continue their contour. So they'll do like their contour here and then their blush here and stop it. But if you watched my video, I put blush everywhere. I love, love, love blush. And because I am a person that blushes a lot, just very, very naturally, I put blush everywhere because I don't want to look like a ghost. And so I will bring my blush, I'll do it all the way to back here, but I'll also bring it all the way to basically like the inside or the outside of my nose, the inside of my cheek here, because I tend to blush like all along here, like a cartoon. And I'll also do a little bit on my nose, a little bit on my chin, and a little bit on my forehead. And I don't know, I just feel like that looks natural for me. A lot of people do this just because it does look more like how they actually look. I also feel like it really helps with, I have really big cheeks, and if you see me smile, you know that I have big apple cheeks. And so if I smile while I'm wearing blush that's just like whoop back here, it looks weird. So typically if you do have big apple cheeks, it's good to come in a little bit further, or else it just looks odd and awkward. If you have a more defined face with like not as big, like huge little kid cheeks like I do, then sometimes it can be better to keep that kind of a contour type blush. And that's totally fine for you. It really just depends on your face shape and what you like. Because honestly, makeup, I cannot stress this enough. Makeup is all about what you want and what you like. And there's not really a right, I'll put that down. There's not really a right or wrong way to do it, and I'm not here to tell you the right or wrong way. I'm here to tell you my opinions, and also to tell you like what is common. So that's, yeah. So let's go ahead and move on to highlight. So for highlight, I use the Fenty Beauty. This is the Killawatt in Lightning Dust and Fire Crystal. I think this is one of the lighter ones because it's Rihanna brand. It's Rihanna's brand, and a lot of her stuff caters to darker skin tones, which is obviously awesome because most cosmetic brands don't think, because they're a bunch of white ladies and they don't think about, oh, other people need products too. But I think this is the lightest highlight duo that Fenty Beauty has, and I really like it. Honestly, it's beautiful, and I like that there's like a kind of toned down shimmer and then like a shimmer, because I love highlight, I love sparkly face, I love just my whole face. But I know that sometimes if you do the crazy sparkles in certain places, it makes you look like you're psychotic, and I get that. And so I love taking the like I said, my cheeks are so different than most adults because I do have huge apple cheeks. I feel that it really benefits me, and you can see it in the light right now. It really benefits me to put a little bit of highlighter here, because then when I smile, it's like ring. And so I love that. I love that about myself. I like my apple cheeks personally. Don't hear me saying this like I don't like how I look. I like how I look just fine. It's just sometimes it's different than what people will typically like give you advice for. They'll give you advice for somebody who has like a normal adult face, and when you still have the face of a little kid, it's a little more difficult. So I like taking the lighter highlighter, the less shimmery highlighter, and I'll do it here on the insides. I'll do it all along my nose, on my forehead, and then on my chin. And then I'll take the more like crazy highlighter and I'll do it on the tops of my cheekbones like normal highlighter, right above the ends of my eyebrows, on my cupid's bow, and then I'll do it along the bottom of my jawline. And that's just how I do it. Lots of people do like shimmery highlight very, very differently, because it's all about, like, if you want shimmer, you obviously don't naturally have shimmer in your face, so it's not gonna look natural no matter what. Like, that's the bottom line of like sparkling highlighter, is that it's not gonna look natural no matter what, so there's really no point in trying to make it look natural. You just do whatever you want. But some people don't like it look like really, really close to the inside of your eyes, and some people don't like it on your chin because it makes you look oily, or they don't like it on your nose because it makes you look oily. But I typically don't have a problem when I use the lighter shimmer on this Fenty Beauty highlighter, so I like that. So, I know this video was probably not helpful to you at all, but I hope you enjoyed me talking about what I like about different face products. If you have any questions, please comment or ask me, message me, whatever, because I would be happy to answer it for you, my friends. I don't really know what I'm talking about. Like, I think that's probably really obvious. I worked at Sephora for a while when I was younger, and I got like tons and tons and tons of training, and basically what I learned from all that training, besides like skincare training was super helpful, but besides like that, what I learned from that training was that people like don't typically want, no, I'm not phrasing this right. Basically, what I learned from that training was like not applicable normally, because you'll learn something and then you'll do it on a client and they'll be like, yeah, I don't really like it that way. And so you're like, okay, tell me how you would like it and I'll do it that way. And then they tell you and you do it that way and they're like, oh, okay, it looks great now. I'll buy 20, and that's the dream. But I don't know. It's just kind of like, you can have all the training you want, you can watch all the tutorials you want, but at the end of the day, everybody likes their own style of makeup. Everybody feels differently about certain things, and especially in this day and age when makeup, like everybody does makeup, like not everybody obviously, but like so many people do like big glam, like heavy shadow, heavy eyelashes. Everybody like wants to practice that, and they want to follow all these YouTubers and they want to do it like perfectly. We have everybody suddenly having like super strong opinions and doing it their own way, and there's not one right way to do it anymore. And I think that's great. I love that about makeup. But I also think that it's just kind of like it makes it really hard for me to feel qualified to like tell you how to do something. When it comes to things like a couple videos ago I talked about foundation, that's just basic like body chemistry and like formulas. Honestly, that's just like basic kind of stuff that are facts. But when it comes to preference, like, who am I to tell you how to do your makeup? No one. And so test things out, experiment, do what you want to do, and if you like how it looks, go for it. Do it. And if you don't, try something else. But those are just some of my thoughts on face makeup, some of the products that I enjoy. And I hope you guys at least learned something, and I will see you next time. Bye, friends!